Hello, everybody. This is Sophia Mona Lisa from the Golden Ray Center and the Roseville Mystery School. And we've got an amazing group of gorgeous goddesses here today as we do the makeup ceremony from February. February 22nd was the Venus gate activation, where the 6th strand of DNA came online. And then later in the presentation, Carol will be here to give us a message from the goddess Lilith. So let's get started. So the ceremony for activating this 6th strand of DNA is taking place at the Venus temple in the Canary Islands. And there are some pyramids there on the island of Tenerife that's known as the Güimar Complex. Now, I might be saying that wrong, but that's how I'm pronouncing it. So this is where the Venus temple is. And the Venus temple guardians are known as the L-Key. They are the golden dragons. So they are very, very powerful temple guardians. And there's quite a few of us that have been participating in the Galactic New Earth Project that carry dragon medicine with us. And so it was really exciting to discover the L-Key at this Venus temple. Now, the strand of DNA that is being activated is here, the 6th strand of DNA, and the actual chakra that this is happening at is at the solar plexus chakra. And this is where we have access to the holy soul aspect of Sophia and the spiritual gifts of Dharma consciousness. Dharma is a Sanskrit word for right conduct, which is love in action. So this is where we are in our ascent journey. Later this month, we will be doing the activation here for the heart chakra at this, which is where we have the sacred union of the inner Christos Sophia and where the 7th strand of DNA will come online. So we're doing 2 ceremonies this month because we're getting caught up. You know, every time I get online, Dolce and Romeo decide that they have to get really wound up. So I'm sorry you're hearing them in the background, but they'll calm down soon enough. All right, so I want to remind you that when you're doing your your DNA activation ceremony at home, I want to remind you to use your quantum crystal quartz technology. You can use any crystal that you have, but remember that the really groovy thing about, I see that, Susan, the really groovy thing about using the crystal quartz technology is that you've got that place on the crystal where you are activating the eye of the crystal that is the frequency of divine love that allows you to work with the quantum field and to embed in the quantum field your vision for what it is that you're desiring to manifest. And of course, I talk about that in much more detail in the video that I have here from the October resurrection ceremony. So let me just remind you of the resources that I am providing for you to be able to do this ceremony on your own at home. First of all, in the description box, I will have a link to the Venus temple ceremony that we did in the Canary Islands when we brought the light codes online. Those were the rose gold Christos Sophia light codes that we installed into this Venus temple. So that video is important because it provides a lot of information about the Canary Islands Venus temple that I'm not repeating here today. It is also important because if you go through the ceremony gives you a kind of a script that you can use as a template for navigating yourself to this Canary Islands Venus temple through your etheric body. And then, of course, I'll have the link to the resurrection ceremony as well, because that does explain the quantum crystal technology and how to utilize it. And oops, I'm sorry, I didn't update this. This should say 6th strand. It will include a script in the ceremony that you can use for activating your 6th strand of DNA. And then I will also include a link to my Sacred Feminine class that I did on the Holy Soul aspect of Sophia, so that you can get more of an understanding about that Holy Soul aspect that we have access to through this gate. And a lot of people are still learning about the significance of the Holy Soul aspect of Sophia. So that'll be a really good resource for you too. So here we are. These are the aspects that were in the sky on February 22nd when we had the Venus gate activation, activating what we call the portal of personal power, the solar plexus chakra. And what we see here is a lot going on with that gate point. We know when Moon and Venus are conjunct, that's when the Venus gate is happening. It occurred at 3 degrees Aries, and it was trining the goddess Lilith, who we're having a message from today. And also, it was in semi-sextile to the sun, and the sun itself was trining Yeshua. So a lot of fire, a lot of water with these aspects here with the gate activation. So if you book a DNA activation reading for your 6th strand of DNA, I go much more into the rest of these aspects in terms of how they're relevant to your DNA coming online and what the gifts that are opening up for you with that strand of DNA are. Now, what is it that this gate is activation is all about? Well, basically, with this gate activation and that specific aspect, what it's doing is it's fueling our solar plexus chakra and our compassionate heart, which is our heart chakra, with divine love and divine will. And it's doing this to nourish humanity's budding sovereignty. So this is really huge for humanity as we're stepping out of patriarchy, as we're stepping away from the power grid of the dark forces, and we're coming into our own sovereignty as one of the first steps forward in allowing humanity to become a global community. Now, I just did a video 3 days ago on the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Aries, and I will have the link to that in the description box below. If you haven't seen that yet, I would call this a companion piece to this ceremony for 2 reasons. One, because we know that the gate activation is happening in Aries. Well, the Venus-Jupiter conjunction is happening in Aries. 2, we also know that the gate activation is being significantly supported by the goddess Lilith from this compassionate heart space. And in this, with this Venus-Jupiter conjunction, one of the aspects in the sky that was also a significant aspect, it's a T-square aspect, has the goddess Lilith supporting the breakthroughs in consciousness around what's happening in that T-square. And so this is a tremendous synchronicity, because I had already received the inspiration that for this ceremony to invite the goddess Lilith to speak to us. It was after inviting her to speak at this ceremony that I discovered how she is playing such a significant role in the sky, not only for this Venus gate activation that happened on February 22nd, but now this Venus-Jupiter conjunction that happened just, a couple of weeks later, maybe even less than a couple of weeks later, March 1st and March 2nd, depending on where you are in the country. So I really do encourage you to go back and watch this video too, if you haven't seen it, because it is relevant to everything that we're discussing today as well. So before I call in the sacred space, I want to do a stop share here because I just want to make sure that Carol has joined us. She hasn't joined us yet. Let me text her and see where she is. And in the meantime, I'm going to pause the recording. Okay. Okay, so now that we have Carol with us, I'm going to go ahead and establish the sacred space and call in our galactic collaborators. So just get really comfortable. Make sure that your feet and your hands are supported. I invite you to take really deep breaths into your solar plexus, into your sacral chakra, into your root chakra, and then down into that earth star chakra. So just increasing the capacity of the space within you to hold the light with those deep breaths. And I claim this space for the Sophia-Christ consciousness. I call in the cosmic Sophia and Mary Magdalene. I call in the cosmic Christ and Yeshua. I call in our Arcturian and Pleiadian star beings who are working on this galactic new Earth project with us and are always present in the Venus temples as we do this work. For ourselves and for everyone who will join us at some point in the linear future timeline, I call in our mentorship councils, our galactic teams, and our spirit allies. And I call in the L key, the golden dragons, the temple guardians. Okay, and so before Carol starts to do her message from Lilith, I just want to speak to the fact that last year, when we started this Galactic New Earth project in January, it was about March or April that Lilith came through to me and told me that she would be supporting this project. More specifically, that she would be supporting humanity in its expansion to be able to embody and align with the Sophia-Christ consciousness. So I'm hopeful that as Lilith speaks to us today, whatever is important that she feels that we need to know, I would love it if she could specifically address that as well, how she is supporting humanity in its expansion to embody and align with the Sophia-Christ consciousness. So whenever you're ready, Carol.
It's almost like there's a mist and she's sorting through the mist. Okay, I'm waiting for her to explain. Mankind where once was aware of the connection to Gaia, to nature, to God's source, has walked far into the woods, into the mist. And while there are many higher guides and entities that are holding the light to walk clear of the mist, it is the purpose of Gaia and Lilith, she's saying her, to encourage humans, and in particular females, because she is a female vibrational presence, and she comes from that basis of creation, nurturing, and bringing forth from Gaia. So she is saying that her support is to be clear, and that you must use your own discernment. She's said, and she says this has been said before, and Yeshua has even said it, that we are fragments of divine. We are connected to Gaia. We are connected to source. We are connected to the Christ consciousness. But there are so many guides, higher selves, truthers, so on and so forth, that one must use one owns light, one owns ability to come from the gut place. She is saying the place of core. Females have a males have a light of action, of going forth, of doing. Females have a light of being in creation, of being in their creative consciousness. And they have been told throughout history to not trust this creative consciousness, and what she is and who she is and her vibrational energy is one of divine assertiveness, of female strength. While many female consciousness are nurturing and supportive, she is a staunch knower of female strength core, just as Gaia is a creative life force. Gaia is also supportive and giving and balanced in what she presents, always balancing, always light and dark, always yin and Gaia is a balanced support system. Lilith is, she is using the word ferocious. She is ferocious in supporting female energy that has become toxic. True female energy honors the light of creation, honors both the strength, the creation, the consciousness that is more than female. Females are more than this 3D presentation of dimension. The tale, she said, of Lilith had been one of a harpy, one of a evil witch, a angry woman. And she said, just as Mary Magdalene was called ill names, a female that used her discernment and her strength and her creativity and came from a place of power, not toxicity. She says, just as you would not call Mary of the Magdalene toxic because she spread and taught the Christ consciousness, so that she is not aggressive and a witch because she believes in the subconscious and the conscious and the more than that women bring to this earth. If she would expand that, she says she always wants me to be by a tree, because even though trees are not seen as male or female, they have a vital energy force that gives forth. A tree gives forth, a tree gives fruit, a tree brings its roots into the ground and brings the energy up, giving balance and support. So for her, a tree is an excellent symbol of the woman's energy, being able to ground, support those around us, also be able to, without damaging or hurting others in the community, give her fruit, expand, become more than a sprout. For Lilith, who has many multidimensional light beings that work with her, it is important for females to find the grace and magic. She is saying, imagine a small girl that you see in the mist and you don't know if the girl is good or you don't know if the girl is bad, and you're making a judgment on just what you say in the mist. But yet, as you walk forward and see the girl, you realize that she is a fairy, that she is magical, that she is present in her magic, that she is present in her being, and it is the others around her that judge who she is and how she presents herself. And that will be continuing going forward, that as women become more connected to their core, they will be judged. In this way, it is essential that you are given support by the females that have been teachers and giving support, as the Magdalene, as the Mother Mary, as Lilith, as Gaia. They are our sources of connection and reestablishing the strength that belongs to women. But once again, use your intuition, your gut, your discernment. It must always come, your actions, your thoughts, your creativity, your manifestation must come from a place that is true to you, not what others want you to be, not what others are telling you need to be. Your manifestation and your creativity are a part of your divine femininity. So this is why she uses the fog. Judged by whom? Everyone. Everyone. We would even say, she goes, nature never judges. Gaia doesn't judge. People that are in this 3D, I'm sorry, she's laughing. People that are in this 3D dimension, it is part of where we are to have a want to judge. As we become more spiritual, mystical, we learn that judging people does not do anything for us. But that does not mean that others in society will not judge us, because that is what they have been taught is a proper way to interact. So as you become more of who you are, yes, you will be judged by others that are in this time, in this place, which is why she is putting forth that meditation, nature, gardening, anything that you can connect to your creativity, to your mysticism, to your core, to the consciousness that is within you. Whatever is non-judgmental is what is more comfortable to expand. No one in a high Does anyone have any questions about anything she said or any questions for her? She says she comes in the mist quite often. The mist is.
So Carol, the last part we didn't get to hear because your phone froze.
Oh,
I don't know if
interesting.
Yeah.
What part did you hear last? I'm going to have to let her know.
Quite frankly, I don't recall because I was distracted by the frozen phone. Does anybody else recall what we last heard?
I can go back from the judgment part.
Okay.
And feel free to unfreeze and let me know if I freeze, because obviously they don't want the information to get out. Higher beings, nature, Gaia, Mother Magdalene will not judge you. However, in this dimension, in this frequency, as crabs in boiling water pull someone down, or frogs that are pulling down, or crabs that are pulling down, that is someone trying to escape, that will be that same pulling down into the lower dimensions. It is a positive way to expand yourself, to be in nature, to be with the trees, to connect with Mother Mary, to connect with Christ consciousness. The most important thing is that you feel with your gut and your heart and that consciousness what is true for you, what resonates for you. That above all, in this time, in this space, is developing what will expand you, what is non-judgmental for you, what is like the tree for you, what is nourishing for you. But in this timeline, there will be judgment. But as you expand, it will not matter. Oh, and the last thing she said is that she comes in the fog. So a lot of times in the morning mist, her presence is in there because she feels that is what the world's going through right now, is a fog.
Wow. Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask of Lilith at this time? Just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your questions.
She's saying really quick that if you notice something in nature, she said, for instance, a tree gave me a bright red leaf in the middle of winter. So if you have something, a gift from nature that stands out, such as a butterfly when butterflies aren't supposed to be there, anything that is a sign that nature is flourishing and sharing with you, you know, to please go ahead and take it and put it on your altar, or take it with you if you want, because nature does give you signs letting you know that you are connected and nature does support you, and the mother force is there for you. So anytime you see something that seems like a sign, it is a sign. And she's saying, you know, please go ahead. And she keeps throwing me like an altar or a cloth or a box that you put stuff in to remind you that there still is magic and there still is spirituality, and that nature is still giving you signs.
Go ahead, Susan.
It seems like I may be moving in the next 60 days. So I'm kind of in a quandary. So I guess it's just trying to figure out what I'm doing and staying grounded in this process. I don't know.
What is your favorite place? Because she keeps saying outside. Outside is a place of renewal. Is there a place outside that's close that you can go out and just, okay, this is odd, so I'm gonna repeat it. She says either at dusk or at dawn, she wants you to go out and consciously face the north. And she goes, start with the north and then face each direction. And as you face each direction, she goes, it takes a very short time once you get used to it. You face the direction, preferably if your feet are bare, because you need to just connect just for a short time. Dusk or dawn, bare feet facing the north, connect, face the next direction, connect, next direction, connect, next direction, connect, open up, bring in the light, release it to the earth. And she goes, you can do this very quickly. Doesn't have to be by any trees, but there should be a patch of earth. And it's a way of reestablishing, realigning your balance. And the most thinning times are dusk and dawn, but you can do it any time, preferably when the veil is thinner. But she says she's telling that would help you. And it can be
Thank
done
you.
very quickly. North, all the way around, up, down, and it's just a recentering, a rebalance, and it doesn't take long at all to do it.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. She has something else for you, Susan. Hold on. Okay, she is saying that as you face one direction, okay, so like right now, the wind is blowing and there will be one direction that you will feel, she's saying, a call from. So I'm just going to go with her words. There will be a call from that direction. Go ahead. Okay, she is just saying, pick up the joy. I have to repeat what she says. There's a wind blowing from a certain direction. Allow the wind to come in. And she is saying to you, feel the joy. And she goes, it's like, she is saying like a dog puts his nose up in the wind and they have that happy face, you know? She is saying that that is for you. That when you do it around, there will be a point that you feel the wind and you feel the wind calling, and just do the whole dog, grateful, thank you. And then she goes, that's just like a little
Nudge.
she keeps saying, she keeps showing me a dog when they have that wind and they just have that little grateful face. So she goes, that is for you. And of course, anyone else, but she goes specifically, that is for you.
Terrific. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I don't know why she picked the dog's face, but she did. She kept showing me this dog's face with his nose up in the air.
So Susanna in the chat, Susanna's our friend that's over in Portugal. She has two questions. So I'll ask the first one. She says, actually now she has three questions. So let me go back to the first one. How does Lilith support our journey?
By encouraging you to use your female mysticism, your female strength, your female connection to Gaia, to Lilith, to Mother Mary. You are a female creative source. And since Lilith and Gaia are both natural, they both support nature. They both support females pulling in the nature, being strong as nature, being balanced as nature. So it is more to become more of who you are naturally. And that's who she is. She supports that.
Excellent. Her next question is, once I heard that she was like our dark feminine. Is that so?
That's what men tell you, because they're afraid of her force of source. Yes, that is why she said that she was called a witch and a bad person, because she was judged in that way. So yes, that's correct. And she said, just as Magdalene was given that false aura, so she was also.
And then her last question is, she wants to know from Lilith, how can we embrace our feminine vulnerability without fear or judgment? So I'm thinking that's self-judgment, right? Without
there is a joy in being female. We have been burdened with taking care of others, but there is a great joy in who we are. And so by allowing us to be joyful and in the natural, mystical, spiritual, lovely. She encourages singing and dancing. She loves when females sing. She loves when they dance. There is, through joy, through laughter, through music, through dance, is a way of bringing in that joy component that many of us have missed or are not comfortable with bringing in. But she's like, go dance in the moonlight. Go roll down your window and sing. Your laughter, your joy is amazing, she says. It's amazing. She goes, that's part of the problem with men. There were women that would dance in the middle of the moonlight and just have a great time. What, she goes, why is it so horrible for women to sing and dance and laugh and enjoy each other's company? Rekindle the joy of who you are.
That's spectacular. Thank you. Does anybody else have a question for Lilith? This is your chance. Go ahead, Maureen.
Thank you. I was so interested to hear Lilith talk about the mist, the fog that humanity is in. And I was raised with the Bible. And so as a child, I would read or I would hear that God made everything and he made it good. And a mist came up and all of a sudden there was duality. And I could not figure out as a child, and I still struggle with this, what is that mist? Is that what Lilith is talking about when she says you must move through that mist to find the truth, the magic?
Exactly.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Oh, wow. An age-old question for me. Thank you so much. I just appreciate that. As a child, trying to figure out where'd that come from?
She said you already knew the answer before you even started asking it. She said you already knew.
Okay. Thank you for that validation.
I also picked up on her remarks about the mist and found it very intriguing because when I was in my priestess process, we had to write a life story. And somehow I heard that assignment very differently from all the other priestess sisters. You know, they started with, I was born at a very early age. And when I was 1 year old, I did this. When I was 2-year-old, I did that. But I wrote my life story as a fairy tale. And in my fairy tale, I talk about being in the mist. And so I find it fascinating that Lilith is speaking to that, and that somehow I knew also, Maureen, and had it in my fairy tale.
Okay, I'm seeing questions. Susan Swayze has a question. She says, is that what others call the veil? I don't think it's the same thing. I think the mist is more of how humanity has forgotten who we are as divine beings and finding our way back to that. The veil is something that separates, to me, is something that separates the afterlife with this world. So on the other side of the veil are those who have passed on and have transitioned back to source. And the veil is that's a real thing, because there is that separation of people who are not physically in this world with us in the 3D. But the mist is more us finding our way. It's like finding, like finding our way. Remember how you used to play pin the tail on the donkey and they blindfolded you? You had to find your way around to where you're going to pin the tail back on the donkey. And 9 times out of 10, it wasn't anywhere close to where the rear end was, but it was just feeling our way around to where we needed to be. And I think that's my understanding. That's just me speaking what keeps coming to my brain, and yeah, it's really a sad state of affairs that you don't even hear about Lilith in the Bible at all. But there's a lot of things that have been removed from the Bible, and so that's okay. Susan can tell. Susan, she's going to ask the same thing. How do we lift the veil? And the Maya. I don't know how you lift the veil. I'm not sure that we're supposed to lift that veil myself. That's my question. They're here with us anyway.
And unfortunately, we've lost Carol.
I'm back again. I'm back again.
Okay, you're
I
back.
had to get back in my car.
Okay. So the question is from Susan and Susanna about the veil and how the veil is different from the mist. And Susanna and Gina wanting to know, is it possible to lift the veils of Maya? How can we do that? The veils of illusion. Maya is a Sanskrit word for illusion.
Lilith is saying the fog of mankind is a fog of disassociation from source. And ironically, as we become connected with source and our own consciousness and our own Christ consciousness, the fog and the veils thin. However, she's saying the perfect example is a Buddhist monk, for they are here and they are aware, and they are aware of Maya, and their life is to become enlightened. And she is saying to bring light into the consciousness. So as one brings light into the consciousness, as one brings light into this 3D body, the fog is no longer a separation factor. However, the veil of Maya is something that comes through reconnection with who you are and the source. And she is saying that monks embody that type of lifestyle. She goes, for it is a lifestyle of choosing with each breath to continue, with each day to continue. So the fog of mankind is disconnection from source, and Maya is the karmic wheel. So while they are similar, they are not identical. And through bringing light into your being and connection to the divine source, it is something that as you bring light in and expand, it changes, she says. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a fabulous explanation. Kind of goes back to what we were saying at the beginning before we started the recording, that, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
But she says that a lifestyle choice, a conscious lifestyle choice of bringing light in is something to be done daily. And why are my eyes so big? I don't know. I'm just listening to her. So that is what she's saying. It is something to be done daily, something to be engaged in daily.
And actually, what she's saying is exactly why I encourage everyone, as we are becoming the New Jerusalem, to do these individual ceremonies where they are traveling to the Venus temples and consciously engaging with bringing these strands of DNA online from month to month, because it's a part of that bringing the light in.
She says that is why, okay, I have to repeat what she says. So
Go ahead.
she is saying that that is part, and she's using the word fallacy, so I have to use it. That is part of the fallacy of the solar flare. For solar flare is consciously, continually expanding mankind. And it is like the waves, it is like the wind. Solar flares are continual. And you could say it is kind of wanting mankind to be put on hold, waiting for a solar flare instead of every day actively bringing the light, actively doing work. It is easier to have mankind look for somebody else, a light source, a crisis consciousness, whatever, so 45 come in and save them. And she says, light never stops. Solar flares never stop. What she wants to say is, do not wait for anyone to save you. Females in their own power do not need to be saved. They just need to be realized. She goes,
Yeah.
don't fall into that someone's going to save me.
Right.
Save yourself.
Right. And this realization that she's speaking to is what I call the conscious, active engagement with that process.
Yes, 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 yes. We are so much more than we are aware of. It's like she said, Yeshua was a son of God, but yet he was God at the same time. And he was God's source, even though he was a fragment on earth. So as he is, so are we. So are we a fragment of consciousness? And as I told you, we have the Christ consciousness and source within us, but we are also within source. So we don't just hold source. We are in a mystic universe of source. We are part of the ocean of source. We are not separate. We don't just carry him in. We are in the ocean of source. And for us to just, and that's part of the fog, to see that we are not separate from source, that we are source, not that we have source within us. We are the source consciousness.
Susana Quintal has another question for Lilith. How can we embrace better our mysticism without guilt or shame?
I'm not, okay, so she said, go dancing in the dark, under the moon and under the stars. That's my contract, because I got to repeat what they said. That's what she said.
Okay.
She says she also likes, just before a storm hits, when there's that wind that feels very electric, that she loves that. That's also anything that is a natural source of energy, light, connectiveness, just before the rain, in the middle of the night, when the moon is full. She goes, why do you think women went out in the middle of the fields and danced under the moon? Because it was a wonderful way to connect.
Okay, her next question. Thank you, Lilith and Carol. Are women more connected to source than men?
Okay, why is she doing this? She is saying there are men like James Van Prague, who is a very female and male man. And he is so connected to Beyond the Veil. And there are men that have a gift of seeing. Believe it or not, farmers who actually know the earth and know the seasons and plant by the seasons and harvest by the seasons, they have an innate sense of connectivity. So yes, there are females that are connected, but yes, men that have an essential, and she says essential connection. You know, it's like it's essential to their being. So there are men that need that spiritual. And there are women that need that connection. But she goes, women's difference is that they are able to create life. And men have to bring into creation by manifestation. That's a different bringing into life. Men have to manifest it by actions, by thoughts. Women have a different way of creating. So yes, that would be more natural if you would think of it like that.
So, Carol, going back to Susanna's question about how we can embrace better our mysticism without guilt or shame, I know Lilith did provide an answer, and Susanna has given me permission to mention that she herself is in a wheelchair. And so would Lilith offer any other suggestions for her?
Okay, well, I have to repeat what she says, but she says for her, because of her restriction of movement, and I'm trying to repeat this as much as clear as she's saying, because of her restriction of movement, for her to connect with moving water, whether it's a stream, whether it's a river, whether it's a strong support going to the ocean, the movement that is water for her would be the connection of movement and source and female. So Lilith says for her, water, moving water.
Right.
Moving.
So something with a current.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, Helen, do you have any questions? You're muted, sweetheart. I can't hear you.
Unmute. Here we go. No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay,
We're moving water, but we're not going to the Gulf right now. The red tide is horrible.
and Rebecca, did you get an opportunity to ask? I'm trying to see, make sure everybody had an opportunity. Rebecca,
Oh,
did
for
you-
Suzanne in the chair, she's still chatting in my ear.
okay,
She
go ahead.
said to put a fountain in her house of moving water, so she can bring the moving water into her house with a fountain of moving water, so that the water can move within her house. That's what she's saying. So
Beautiful idea. She says that makes a lot of sense to her. I'm sorry, Rebecca, you were muted, so if you said anything, I didn't hear it.
I said, no, I'm good.
Okay, okay.
The only thing that I will add is, it's funny because I do love to dance, and lately I have been dancing up a storm. So I decided that my exercise routines would be more of dance and joy and, you know, moving the female sensualness. You know, for a while back, I was doing belly dancing, and just for myself, you know, just literally for myself. And it's a beautiful way to bring back that sensual feeling, as well as moving the body and being in that joy. And I have too many neighbors that I cannot dance outside. But when I lived in the country, I did, and I loved it. So, and you
And
guys are
Lilith says that you can, do you have windows that you can open up when you dance? Because what she's saying is if you
Oh,
can
yeah.
open up a window and invite the fairies in.
Okay.
Just like open up a window and said, come on, we're going to go dancing. And she goes, they will come in and you can feel their energy.
Well,
And
you
she
guys
goes,
are
you got to open a window for them, she says.
you're forgetting I'm in northeastern Pennsylvania, and it's about 30 degrees out right now and raining.
She says, believe it or not, a little bit of brisk air will do wonders for you. That's what
Okay.
she goes, you
Got
don't have to walk from the window, just crack it. And she goes,
Okay.
let the magic come in.
All right. Thank you.
Wow, that's great. That's really great. So this is the last opportunity for anybody to ask a question before we have Lilith do her closing. Is everybody good? Okie dokie. All right. So our final words from Lilith.
Be not afraid of the tree that you are, whether it is a cherry blossom, whether it is a grand oak, whether it is a willow that bends in the wind. Embrace all of who you are. And she goes, don't be afraid to like not move in the wind.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. What a gift. Okay, I'm going to go back to the slides. And now it's our sharing circle. So if there's anything that anybody would like to comment on regarding anything that we've discussed today, now's your opportunity. So let me change the view back to gallery. Okay. Anybody have anything that they'd like to share? Susanna and Gina both in the chat said, what a beautiful sharing. So thank you for those messages.
Oh, you're welcome. I like the fact that she says to dance, because I've been wanting to do that for a while. And even in Central Florida, Rebecca, I don't open up the windows too often. But I can actually go out on my lanai and actually dance outside. And I get a great deal of joy working in the yard. So that's one of my things I just absolutely love. Thank you.
And it's a nice windy day here in Northwest Arkansas. So that's what I'll be going when I leave. I'm going to be out walking, which is one of my favorite things to do besides hugging trees and planting in the garden. And now that may not happen if I'm going to move, that I can still do my walks.
Dolce and I go out and just sit in the grass and watch the sunset over the lake out back. We'll sit out there for 15 to 30 minutes. And Dolce loves it. You can see her putting her snoot up in the air, and she loves the wind coming at her.
And I'm a dancer too. I love to dance. So I'm all good with all that. And a Zumba instructor. So.
You know, in our priestess process, we always started and ended each day with dance.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that zones out all the time? Like I was twitching all over the place and I'm zoned right out and I'm in theta and I'm like, I'm never really here. Is anybody else like that or is it just me? I don't know.
When I used to go to the Mahatmas all the time and listen to them, there is something about the gathering of people wanting more than. And I would always zone out. There's something about a gathering of loving frequencies, of female frequencies, of whatever we are. And it's sometimes it's so strong and so intoxicating that you're not in 3D anymore. At least I know I wasn't. So I
It's
just think it's a gathering of who we are.
And
And
it's the moment that Sophia starts speaking, like as soon as she puts us in that and we all kind of just, it's like,
Yeah.
like I hear everything. I know you're all present, but I'm just, it's the weirdest thing. And I get like that in meditation. I get like that, like, so I like it. Don't get me, I actually love it, but it's just, it happens all the time. And I've noticed now when I do my healing, when I'm working with some of my clients, it's like the last few months, I'm really like, so I don't know. I ground, I do everything I'm supposed to do. I'm there, but I'm just like, whew. So I don't
Well, the
know.
Mahatma said it was very normal because there are times when who we are as 3D doesn't need to be there. And our other higher consciousness, our other dimensionalities, our other higher selves, see if I can do it, our higher selves benefit more from what's being said because they can relate to it and they are existing in that truth. And the 3D, who we are, doesn't need to be here, but who we're talking to, who we're interacting with, it goes to that part of us that can benefit, that can resonate with it. So you're just allowing your 3D to step back and your higher self to step in and say, okay, this is cool. I can use this. I can relate. So you're multitasking is what.
Okay. Thank you very much. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Thank you.
I did it all the time with Mahatmas. They'd start talking now, we'd just go, poof, and I'd be gone.
And it happens to me, Rebecca. That's why I have problems using my mouse and using Zoom, switching back and forth, because it's like whatever presence is in my body isn't able to manipulate that into 3D, which is why I have sometimes a hard time moving back and forth and stuff while we're doing this.
It is. It's very normal.
And our Susanna in Portugal says it happens to her all the time too. So you're in good company, my dear. Susanna says when she gets interrupted, when she's meditating, it takes her a long time to get grounded again.
Yes, that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other sharing, or are we good to move on?
Good.
Okay, let's go back to the slides here if I can manage it. Oh, wait a minute. I'll see, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is your last opportunity for questions and answers. I know we've had a lot of them, but this is, if anything has come up that you haven't had an opportunity to give a voice to, this is it. So let me stop the share again. Anybody have any final questions that they would love some answers to? Good. Okay. Here we go. All righty. So let's talk about the ceremony that we're going to do at the end of this month, which brings us back on track, back on schedule. And that ceremony will be taking place at the Venus temple that is beneath the Alhambra in Spain. And I love this synchronicity because the Venus gate activation is happening at the heart chakra, that which we call the portal of compassion. And the temple name for the Venus temple in Alhambra is called the Temple of the Heart Tone. So the fact that that fell that way, I think, is a beautiful synchronicity. The actual Venus gate activation, when the 7th strand of DNA is coming online, is on March 24th. And we're having our gathering on March 26th. And that's exciting because we know in the heart chakra, we have this sacred union of Sophia and Christ. We know that on our planet Earth, that Yeshua and Magdalene modeled that sacred union, and their daughter Sara is a manifestation of that divine union. So we will be having a message from Sara at our next ceremony. It's always 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's always the same time.
Well, I haven't talked to Sarah, so that'll be the first time for me.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. It'll be a first time for me too, actually, to be able to communicate with her. So I'm very excited about it.
I'm gonna have to miss that one and catch a replay.
I know, Helen, but we're going to be wishing your grandson all the best at his swimming meet. Hope he
It'll be-
comes home with
yeah.
lots of ribbons and medals and trophies or whatever they get.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, it's good. He trains hard and works hard, and it's good. It'll be good.
That's great. I think it'll be the first ceremony ever since last January that you won't be able to be present at.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'll be there in spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, with all the gang. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so just want to say thank you to everybody for watching this and for being here, and invite you to subscribe to the channel, the Roseville Mystery School, to click on the thumbs up so that more people will be able to see this. Click on the bell so you'll be notified when I put up new content. And if you need to reach me about anything that we've discussed with this ceremony, the Galactic New Earth Project, a DNA activation reading, you can email me at sophiamonalisa79@gmail.com. Remember that Sophia is spelled with an F. So having said that, let me just make sure there's nothing left in the chat. Let's see here. So Gina says, grateful for each one of you and your energy. So we are very happy that we're all here together. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It fuels me and keeps me going. So until our next ceremony at the end of this month, I can't even remember the date. I just read it off the slide and I can't even remember it. Oh, you're welcome, Susan. Susan says, thank you for including me in this group. We're so happy that you've found us. Gina says the next ceremony is 3/26. So thank you, Gina. All right, beloveds. Until next time, take care.